Greetings gamers, what is up? Squirrely here. Thank you for joining me as always. Today's video is very important because we might be talking about the next big thing, the evolution of unusuals. So I'm kind of hyping it up and being dramatic, but I think this could be a thing. If not, it might have already happened, to be honest, and I was part of this. I'm going to talk about spells and spell market and spell trading and what they are and why I think spells are kind of like mini unusuals, and that's a whole new market that's been exploding. There's some great profit margins, and if you like trading in general, it's something I think you should think about. So I'm going to talk about spells, why I think they're a good candidate to be mini unusuals, and why it might be a good market to look into. I'll also talk about the pros and the cons and kind of what to expect in the future. So spells, are they the new unusuals? Let's take a look. I think they are mini unusuals, and I've been saying this for a long time. I remember even telling other friends I taught how to trade spells and flip spells, and other collectors who just like them in general, that these are like mini unusuals, and that's why they have this really kind of like fun energy that just draws you in. Because say you like Scout, you have your favorite Scout hat, like a tassel cap, and then something cosmetic for the body, and something for his legs or shoes. You could find spelled items on there and make sets and make combos and do all kinds of crazy things. I mean, some of my favorite sets were just like a beard for the medic and a funny hat, or like, a heavy beard and a heavy hat or whatever. And you get these really fun color combos. In fact, I like them so much. Like I said, I collected, the largest amount of anyone in the whole world. I had thousands of them, but also I made videos on them. So down below, I'll link you guys to these videos that I made back in the day, and I would go through every class and just showcase a couple of different options, because I think it's something that you really had to see it to appreciate it. So as I said, there's a bunch of different versions. There's painted versions, there's deep voices, there's ones on weapons and stuff. So whatever you fancy, whatever you like, there's an option for spells, and I think there's a good enough diversity of them that you're not stuck with like one or two options. There's a couple of different options, different colors, different trails, so there's a good variety out there. Now, I also think they're mini unusuals because they are rare. So there's enough of them to trade and kind of keep an economy and a little market going for them. They are rare. You can't unbox them. You can't get them anymore. It was actually just a low chance of getting them back in the day. When you could get them, you pretty much had to run around servers, and there was idle service for this, and you would just sit around and bounce around the map and pick up gargoyles and just see what you get. So there aren't any real official guidelines on the tiering and everything of that, but most people would probably agree that the highest tier one for a color spell is probably Chromatic. Spectral's probably a close second. Personally, I really liked Chromatic. I thought Sinister was really good too. Spectral's great, especially on the red class, but I also liked Dye Job because that was a deep dark color, like almost a black. The only one I didn't really like too much was the putrescent pigmentation, whatever, it's hard to say. There's also Footprints, which most people would say are probably one of the more expensive ones as well. So you have like your Headless Horseman, Rotten Orange, there's a green one, a Team Spirit one, a purple one, so there's a bunch of different versions out there. And there's also the deep voices, which is great because any character that can wear that cosmetic, so if you have it on a bandana or an all-class hat or whatever, it gives all of them deep voices. And then there's also the weapons. So the weapons now, there was more back in the day, but it's pretty much been funneled down to two. There is the Pumpkin Bombs Trails, which looks amazing on rocket launchers, grenade, a wrench. It looks really cool because then your sentry gun shoots purple rocket trails. And then also on your weapons that explode, the pumpkin bombs would blow up with like different pumpkins and this big orange explosion. It just looks really cool. And there's also Exorcism. Exorcism means that your explosion, when you kill someone, on their dead body, like these little ghosts rise up. So it looks pretty cool, especially on a map where there's a lot of explosions going on and chaos. Maybe it's Dust Bowl or you're playing Envium or whatever. There's just chaos spells flying everywhere, and it just looks amazing. So I've been talking about spells for a long time here, and when they came out, and why they're cool, and why I like them, and what's going on, and all that stuff. And I've been thinking that they're mini unusuals for a long time, and they kind of have this really fun market of TF2 that just hasn't really taken off or gotten mainstream like other things. But now I think it's starting to happen, and that's why I made this video. Back in the day when I used to have them for sale or I was collecting them, a couple people would be into it. Like, it was still very a niche market. So you could sell them for a large amount of profit, but just not everyone was into it because people just either didn't know about them, or they didn't care, or they didn't want to deal with the hassle of learning that market, whatever it may be. But now it's kind of become more mainstream. I would jump in a trade server and it's like, I swear, half the people in there have spells, or they're looking for spells, or they just sold spells, or they're trying to buy spells, or get one back, or collect one. It's like, wow, this is kind of cool. Like, that feels fun to me to be part of that thing, and maybe I helped. Maybe that the fact that I sold thousands and thousands of spelled items, that they're out there in circulation, and I made this little mini market, and people are participating and stuff. So, I mean, I can't take all the credit, of course, but it feels good to know that, hey, this is something I believed in a long time ago, and it's starting to take off. It's really becoming its own thing. So, like I said, it's just a fun, different aspect of TF2 trading. If you're sick of regular unusuals and taunts and the same old hats and the same old skins or whatever it may be. There's a whole big world out there of spells that's really fun to get into, and the profits can be great. A good example of flipping spells, what you could do is maybe buy a themed item, like a single spell, Crone's Zone, and then you buy it for a key or half a key or whatever it is, and then you resell it for 3 keys, and then with those 3 keys, you buy 3 more spells for a key each, sell those all for 3 keys, and now you have 9 keys, and that could happen on a pretty regular basis with spelled items because there's no price. It's pretty much, if it's cool, it's got a good effect, and people like it, it's popular, you can make up whatever price you want, and there's not enough for sale typically to like there's someone lowballing you or whatever. So it's a really fun market to be in, and it is still pretty small, all things considered in the trading community, but people will go out of their way and hunt down specific hats with specific spells. Even if they're not for sale, they'll message you, they will send trade offers and try to get them off your hands, which is really cool. There's not that many items in TF2 that have that kind of power and effect on people. The other nice thing about the spell market is that it does range wildly. So you can find spells out there, like I said, for a key, maybe a couple keys, or really nice items that have 2 really expensive effects on it. Maybe it has like a matching combo, like it's a Chrome Zone or an all-class hat, or it's a facial thing like a Bruiser's bandana or something cool, and it has like chromatic and also has maybe something like the Headless Horseman footprints or whatever, so it's kind of like a combo and it's matching and it's themed with Halloween, and that could be really expensive. So it could range from anything. You could buy spells for a key or a couple keys to maybe you're buying for 10, 15, 20 keys. If they're on Australiums, like double spelled rocket launchers, I don't know how many double spelled Australian rocket launchers I've sold, but they've always gone for a lot. I mean, a lot, like 2, 3, 4 times more than you would spend for a regular rocket launcher, which is really cool. That's crazy. So another reason you might like the spell market, the little mini unusual market, is that regular unusuals and just the regular items we're used to seeing in TF2, like the skins and strange weapons and bot killers or whatever it may be, they're just super, super saturated. They've been around for a long time. We haven't had any big change with unusuals in general. So there's just a huge market. There's so many hats and there's so many effects. And it's like, it gets to the point where some people it's just too much and they don't care. It's not fun. It's not exciting. And that kind of happened to me back in the day. Once you've owned every god tier unusual, every god tier item, every dream set, whatever that you've ever wanted, you kind of get bored. And that's part of why I got into spell trading. It was challenging. It was fun. I did think they looked really cool in game. You can make really, really, really big profit margins on them. I mean, I've had videos before talking about making money on the Steam community market, and there's times where you could buy like a spelled hat for like 30 cents, and I would sell for like 15 keys, like just boom, boom. Like those profit margins were just insane. But it's a really fun market, so I want you guys to think about it. If you've never owned spells, don't go into it blindly and pay 20 keys for a double spelled hat if you don't know anything about it. Maybe start slow, work your way into it, make some sets, buy items that you would enjoy using yourself, and just kind of get a feel for what's out there. Definitely look on the Steam market, look in the classifieds. If you have spelled items, you do need to make a little bit more of an effort to sell them, because there isn't as many people looking for them, and a lot of people don't know how to find them. So make an effort if you're in-game, or in classifieds, or on marketplace, whatever. But other people have definitely caught on, which is why this little market has grown big enough that Marketplace, Backpack, and these other trading sites will label them. They'll put a little marker letting you know that, hey, this has spells, or might have strange parts, or might be, like a unique number or something like that. And people pay more for those, so that's cool. That means something when other people realize, hey, there's enough people paying a lot more for spelled items. We got to make sure people know if it has a spell on it. So that's really cool. I'm glad they've done that. That's made the spell market probably a lot better to trade in, because before, it was so hard to sell them because no one knew, no one took the time to look at your item. It just looked like a regular hat. So nowadays, it's probably even better to get into the market than ever, although the prices might not be as great before because there's more people doing them, more people looking for profit, but they're still out there. There's a lot of them that haven't been for sale in a long time. There's a lot of nice ones. There's some collectors that are hoarding them for sure, but a lot of my stuff, I mean, I had thousands of them. They're all out there. I sold them all, so those are floating around. Maybe you'll find some spelled hats and cosmetics or weapons that I used to own, so let me know if you do run into those, because they were really, really fun. It was one of those things where they're cheap enough to enjoy and collect, and everyone can kind of get involved in them, but it's also challenging and fun. It's not, you're so used to trading hundreds and hundreds of keys for hats and unusuals. It's like, you get so invested in it, and they're so expensive. Once you get it, you're looking forward to like selling it and making profit. With these, you can actually just enjoy them because they're not too crazy expensive. Alright gamers, well thank you for joining me as always. Let me know down below your thoughts and your feelings. The spells are definitely kind of controversial. Some people love them, some people hate them, some people never really learned enough about them to even have an opinion about them. But personally, for myself, they were super fun to trade, super fun to own. Very fun to, flip them for large profit margins and kind of move up quickly. Definitely a very fun niche that I'm glad was around, and I think it's still around, and I'm glad it's growing. So Let me know down below if you've ever traded for spells, you have any favorite spells that you want or a dream item that you want in spells. Personally for me, I miss some of my old double spelled max heads and bruisers bandanas and unusuals and Australians and so many cool combos I used to have. That was a lot of fun and I do miss them, but it's all good. On to new things. So thank you guys for joining me as always. I'd love to hear from you down below how it goes in the spell market if you decide to get in. And hopefully I will see you guys soon in casual. If not, I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Peace.
My brain is huge.
I actually hate the fact that the cards.
Oh no.
Nice. Who needs crits when you can throw fucking fireballs?